So dudes, it's your boy Tuhu, and welcome back to another episode of Delusional Gacha Takes. Today we're going to talk about gacha revenue charts, and why I don't quite understand why people look at them the way they do. If you're new to the channel, glad to have you. I'm the god of gacha games. I've been playing gacha for the last 8 years, and currently I main 13 of them, with more to come in the future, and so I'm pretty confident in saying that I've got the most amount of knowledge and experience out of all the gacha content creators out here in the West. Delusional Gacha Takes is a series where I discuss various gacha topics and phenomena I see around the gacha content creation or general community space that I'd like to point out as, well, delusional. It's in the title. So, like I said earlier, today I want to talk about gacha revenue charts that people like to scrutinize at the end of every month. For those of you who aren't aware or didn't care before, like me, gacha revenue charts are... well, they're kind of what they sound like. They're aggregate charts that tally up how much money different gachas around the world have made for the past month or two. Well, I say around the world, but let's be real, they're all from East Asia, unless there's an imposter in there somewhere. I've been told that this chart right here is the one that people currently go to for their monthly gacha revenue fix. It lists the top 50 highest grossing gachas, how far up or down they've shifted compared to last month, at least that's what I think the trend category means, and of course how much money they've made both in the last month and the month before, so you can see the difference. Because I don't look at these charts very much, matter of fact, as I said before, I don't really care for these, so this is the first time I've had to look at one unironically to make this video. There are some things that I don't know about these charts that maybe you guys can clarify for me in the comments. First and most importantly, are the sales numbers coming from all sources, as in from both mobile and PC? Because looking at Star Rail's numbers, for example, I would assume so. Like 100 million is a lot of money, and I doubt that came just from mobile or just from PC. But I just want to make sure so that there's no ambiguity here. And second, each game has an extra regional category, which I assume means the revenue that they've made is coming from all regions or only certain regions. My question is, what's the difference between combined and global? Some games only have a single region listed, like JP or CN, so those are pretty straightforward, but does global mean every region except China? Because I don't think it just means the West, because some gachas I see here on this chart are listed as global, and they should have multiple regional servers, especially that Pokemon's TCG gacha. This one isn't as important, I'm just curious to know what that means. Anyways, back to the punchline. I don't quite understand why people look at these things as often as they do. Like, obviously, I know that there are some, more like a lot of people, out there who like to use these revenue charts to either jack off over how much money their favorite gachas made, or how little money their most hated gachas made, or, conversely, crash out over how much money their most hated gachas made, or how little money that their favorite gachas made. Cue the agenda posting cheat sheet. But I think that's only half the story, because I've seen lots of content creators, both the ones that I've talked trash on and the ones that I actually like, looking at these charts for content. So to me, it seems like people look at them for different reasons. I assume that the CCs I've talked shit on before will use these charts to further their own agendas, like there's some sort of flow chart. Hey, we got some perfect examples right here now, don't we? But what about everyone else, right? If they don't have an agenda to push, why do they look at these charts? Is it because they're just curious to know how much money their favorite gachas made, or do they just genuinely enjoy looking at these every month? Because frankly, other than for stupid gacha PvP reasons, I think that looking at these revenue charts is almost no better than React anti-slop. And my main reason for it is because what on earth are you going to do with this information, right? What's the point of knowing how much money your favorite gachas made this past month? For example, what am I going to do with the fact that Star Rail pulled in 100 million in April? What, shove it in the faces of the Woowa fanboys out there? I mean, that sounds tempting, not going to lie, but I'm not going to do that since I don't care quite enough about ruining their day to look at these things to start with. But my point here is that other than to flex at other people over the internet with money that ain't even yours, what's the use of knowing how much money a gacha's made this past month outside of genuine curiosity? And if it is genuine curiosity, why do some people still look at these things for hours on end? If you're playing a gacha that you're afraid ain't doing so hot, then okay, I can see why you'd want to pay attention to these charts to see how much revenue they're making these days, to monitor their financial status, assuming they even show up in these charts at all. One of the gachas that I used to play, called Magia Record, was like this, where the NA server for that game eventually got shut down because apparently there were only like a handful of whales paying for the entire server towards the end, so clearly it wasn't making enough money anymore to justify keeping around. But most people who care about these charts don't even play any other gacha outside the big four, and if you only care about those four, that is Genshin, Star Rail, Zenless, and Wuwa, none of them are going to shut down anytime soon, so I don't think you need to worry about their financial health in the first place. Unless, of course, you're one of those gullible idiots who buy into thumbnails like this. Or maybe you like to compile, revenue data and chart them over the lifespan of each gacha, like your Zajif or other smart boys working on their spreadsheets, but I certainly haven't seen any content creator do that, not yet anyway. Besides, making spreadsheets takes actual effort, and most gacha CCs don't know what that means. I got another reason why I don't look at these charts, and it's because I don't know what's going on with each and every gacha to infer anything outside of what's clearly stated on them, which is their revenue. I play a lot of gachas, but obviously I don't play them all. When I look at the revenues for the games that I actually play, I can probably explain them. For example, Star Rail's obvious, second anniversary, and Casterus. Genshin's banners have been pretty slow lately, and Natlan characters haven't been that popular. Zenless put out Vivian in April, and she's a pretty popular waifu so far, and so that probably explains their little revenue bump. Arknights has had strong events both in CN and Global, with their Monster, Vopus Voglia, and Lapland Altar banners. FGO's doing its thing as usual, taking it slow with 3-week events, though Ordeal Call 4 just dropped, and Lilith's banner went live this week, so we'll see how much money she makes, etc. But for the gachas that I don't play, obviously I can't really explain their revenues. My viewers told me about this new Gundam gacha that came out recently, and sure enough, it's right here with 14 mil. Seems like a strong start to me, but we'll see how much they make after their release month. I heard that the Pokemon TCG gacha's been doing really well since its launch back in October of last year, but I don't know why they made 25 million less in April than they did in March. I assume it's because whatever new packs they've been releasing in April, if they did, aren't as strong or as hyped as the ones they released in March, for example, in comparison. Even for some of the gachas that I do play, I'm not sure if I can explain their revenues either. Wuwa's first anniversary went live in April, I think, technically, but I'm not seeing a significant revenue increase from March to April that I'm expecting from an anniversary event. My best guess is that anniversary must have started on like the last week or the last few days of April, so all the money that people are spending on Zanny and other rerun banners aren't yet reflected in the April data and might roll over to May or something. Honestly, learning about the reasons behind the revenue fluctuations behind each of these gachas is far more interesting to me than the money itself. Infinity Nikki and Uma Musume, for instance, both saw their revenues drop all the way down to the 6 million mark, but I did hear about Infinity Nikki and how their developers pulled some crap like increasing pity and retconning one of their early story chapters, which their players did not like. For Uma Musume, I don't know. I get the impression that this game is the type of gacha to put out banners that people are insanely hyped for, right? That make a ton of money in one go, but outside of them, they're pretty low-key. But since I don't play that game, I can't say that for sure. But hopefully you're seeing what I'm getting at here. I don't try to extrapolate anything beyond what I see on these charts because I know that there are things going on that I don't know about behind the scenes for each and every one of these gachas. Y'all can roast me all you want for playing 13 different gachas, but I don't see any of you guys coming anywhere close to that, and y'all still think you can run around with thumbnails and video titles like this. And besides, I don't give a about how much money a gacha's made. I care more about actually playing them. Once upon a time, we used to call that content, but I guess for the mentally underdeveloped, their idea of content these days is a bit different. If there is a legitimate reason to look at these charts, do let me know. Again, lots of gacha content creators out there who love pulling these things up for content every month, both, the streamers that I on and those I don't mind. So I can't just single out one group or another for doing this. So there might be a chance that behind all this gacha tribalism, behind all the circle jerking and the crash outs, there might actually be a good reason why people look at them. but for some reason I doubt it. To me, these revenue charts are the gacha equivalent of like dangling some keys in front of a kid who gets easily entertained by, ooh, shiny. So unless y'all can give me an answer that I can actually get behind, all these charts do is give the agenda pushers their monthly bread to make more slop out of and nothing more. It's not that these charts shouldn't be made. The charts on their own aren't a problem. The problem is what some people do with them. I just don't see why I'd personally want to stare at a bunch of big numbers for like 2 hours of my stream. Besides, the big numbers that I prefer looking at are these. Again, if you just like looking at these charts for no other reason than genuine curiosity, that's fine, nothing wrong with that, but enough content creators wait for these to come out every month like they're waiting for the next drip market tweets to come out from their favorite gacha games. And I want to know if there's any deeper meaning to that than just React Andy slop. And that'll do it for this video. All my socials are down in the description below. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel for more, and check out the Patreon if you really enjoy the content. Catch my streams either right here on YouTube or over on Twitch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.